Today we're talking about how to paint realistic greens in your landscape paintings. After my last video on mixing blues, this was the #1 color people asked me to talk more about. But first, let's define what I mean by realistic greens. When I hear someone say they have trouble with greens, I think what they're struggling with is how they handle greens so they look believable. Like in nature, not like man-made or like an amusement park or artificial turf. And most of the time, the problem comes down to one of 3 things. Be sure to stick around until the end for a bonus tip that'll save you some time. Hey there, I'm Layne Johnson. I help regular people learn classical painting techniques so they can paint the landscapes they love and have fun doing it. Welcome to my studio. Let's get into it. Problem number 1. Your greens are too bright or intense. You know that almost neon green that screams artificial rather than natural? Nature is usually more subdued than you think. There are certainly bright, intense greens in nature, especially where sunlight hits new growth. But if all your greens are that intense, the painting starts to look artificial. As you can see, we have some really bright greens here. We have a cinnabar green light right here. We have a bright green lake right here. And we have a cadmium green right here. All of these greens are greens that I would consider artificial looking. It doesn't mean they can't be used, but you do need to tame them, I think. So let's just see what we can do here. First of all, I'm also working on a white surface so you can really see the color working. Normally when I mix colors, I'm working on a gray surface. So let's see what we have here. See how bright that is, okay? Okay, let's look at the bright green lake, this right here. Let's spread it out. It's a whole different kind of green, but yes, it is very, very bright. Lastly, we have the cadmium green. The cadmium green is also going to be very bright. This to me, it's probably brighter to my eyes than it does look on the video. This almost looks fluorescent to me. So the question is, how can we tame them? Well, if you have taken any of my courses, especially the limited palette course, you'll know that one of your best friends in any painting is going to be your complementary colors. So if you take this color and just add just a tiny bit of red to it, it will knock it down. A little bit more. And you have to gauge it. There's a nice green. And of course, whenever you add white to something, you can make it a tint. So that's that flavor. Now the other thing you can do, rather than, this is a cadmium red over here, you could actually have used something like a burnt sienna. A burnt sienna is a brown, but it's a very kind of a rust, it's basically a rust brown. So we'll try that on the next one. This is the bright green lake. Let's use a little bit of burnt sienna. You can see that color. It knocks it down. Now the greens that we talk about in nature can go anywhere from foliage to grasses to all sorts of other things. And of course, there's the values. I'm knocking down the saturation, but you start adding white to things and you can change the values of them. So grasses will be a little more natural looking. You can see how it just goes to a nice, more natural green. And the same thing will be true of the cinnabar green. Cinnabar green is another really bright color that is really good for some things, but you just need to tame it. Let's just add just white on this. And you can see it's a nice color, but under the right circumstances and the right amount, it might be a really good highlight color. Now, another thing you need to consider when you're looking at these greens here, and this is true of any green that you use, is pay attention to what their properties are. The properties of a lot of greens are going to be semi-transparent or transparent, but occasionally you'll get green that is opaque. Like this cadmium green is opaque. So if you were to, like I don't have a yellow here, but let's take some of this and mix in with this. And what you're getting is this color green, a little more yellow or green, and you're grabbing some of the opacity of this paint to have that color with. So again, this, you can see how much yellower this is than that. So again, you can change the property of the paint to suit your purpose. Like, for example, if you're doing highlights at the very end of the painting on like leaves and things like that, those things are best hit on 1 or 2 brush strokes as opposed to a lot of brush strokes because it's not covering. So this is why I favor the cadmiums a lot of times, because of opacity. Ding, 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 ding. That means I'm just giving you golden wisdom. Okay. Just remember, I think it's important for you to learn to mix from bright colors. You need to learn how to dim them. And the main reason is a bright color can be dimmed. But if you start off with a dim color, you can't make it brighter. So learn to mix your colors. And if you want to learn more about that, be sure to look for the additional resources in the description below. Problem number 2. All your greens look the same, what I call one-note greens. Nature is more nuanced than a manicured golf course. Real landscapes contain variations in value, color temperature, and color intensity. And those variations relate to light, form, distance, and the actual species of flora growing there. So you need a variety of greens, but we're not simply creating a variety for variety's sake, but to capture the reality in nature. Another thing is about greens is it's not just affected by the actual plant, the local plant, it's affected by distance. If you look across the road right here, you'll see this fence line. These are the warmer colors a little bit closer, and what's behind it is cooler. So again, the variety of greens can help achieve depth. Depth is good. Down the road, you can see more greens. The variety includes anything from the very far distance, there are highlights, which are very bright and light. And those highlight greens make great focal points. And then looking back into the shadows, of course, you do see the variety of greens. You see still warm and cools, but it's really overall, when you get in the shadow, it just cools down more so. Also, when there's flora that's mixed in with your greens, say like on the pasture or in this case along the road, like these white flowers right here, if you have lots of those, which we have down here overall, that will kind of gray down your greens. It will subdue them a little bit. In the same manner, you might have lots of blue flowers that will cool down the whole thing. And of course, across the road here, you have yellow flowers over there. That will warm up the overall green. It's kind of like color mixing with flora. So you'd have to still keep in context the idea that color affects. Color is relative. So you have just solid green, it's one thing. You have green with yellow flowers, it's a different thing. You have green with blue flowers, it's another different thing. So that's the part about painting green that's so much fun, and it makes it hard sometimes. Okay, those one-note colors, those one-note greens, what I've done here is I've put out some sap green. Sap green is a color that a lot of people use, a lot of it. It's a good green. It falls, I think, in the category of a convenience green. But if you do an entire landscape with just mainly that, it will just never get beyond a certain level. You will have valued variations, but you won't have color variations. And nature has color variations that can go anywhere from, it could be warmer than that. For example, if you were to add, let's say, with the lemon yellow right here to this, you can see how bright yellow that is. And here's your sap green again. you have a warmer, you can see this is warmer than that. You could go warmer still if you were to choose like a CAD yellow deep or a permanent yellow deep. How much warmer that becomes. So again, these kind of variations are the kind of things you are going to see in real life, real nature. And of course, it's not just warmer colors. Let's say you have this same color and you put down some, let me put the color over here. Here's your sap green again. And you grab a little bit of the blue to put in there. And a lot of times you're not going to see it until you have your signature white, your color that will reveal the color. So as you can see, this is a nice cooler green than this green here, and it can go even cooler still. So you're talking about greens you might see in leaves on the shadow side of a tree with reflective light. So, and again, the variations of these greens, you can go darker. If you were to choose, let's say, the same sap green, it likely will not be, the darkest green in the painting. But if you add other colors to it, like this is Van Dyke brown. Now you got a really, really dark green. And that's a warm green because it's Van Dyke, but then you go add a little bit of the blue to it and it cools that down a little bit. There's just so many different variations of green that you can make. And it's critical for you, if you want an authentic looking landscape, instead of amusement park, you want it not to look like a golf course, then you got to show all these greens and, use them wisely. And it's amazing how many you can just mix. You don't need many colors to do it, but you can create a huge variety of colors that will bring your landscapes to life. Problem number 3. You can't mix the green you're seeing. Well, you may be starting with the wrong blue or the wrong yellow, and that matters more than you might think. The characteristics of the yellow and blue determine the family of green, or as I say, the flavor you're able to mix. So are you using the wrong yellow or perhaps the wrong blue to start off to make a realistic green? Well, it all depends. There's nothing wrong with the colors. It just may be how you're using them. So what I've got here is basically a cadmium yellow light. No, this is the lemon yellow right here. And again, you've seen how bright lemon yellow it is. Okay. Now, I'm going to rinse my brush and go back over and show you a phthalo blue. This one right here. You can see how intense it is. So the problem is when you put that in with this, you get a very unnatural looking green. One that's perhaps not in your best interest. It is in your best interest if you're playing putt-putt golf, but it's not saying you can't mix this, but you need to do something to fix it. And I'll show you that in a minute. But another alternative would be just using a different yellow and a different blue altogether. And there's very different versions of different choices you can make. This is, again, a deep yellow. Permanent yellow deep is what this one is. I'll put it out there. Still a pretty bright color. Yeah, but if you use a different blue, in this case, I've got French ultramarine, and it's a nice, pretty blue. It's a different kind of blue than that. So if you mix that in with this, you can see how it goes a different direction. It's much more of a natural color, more of a brownish color. You can add more blue into it and make it a darker color. These are colors you will see in nature. So the question is, what do you do with that? Well, as I think I showed before, how you kill a bright green, you go to a complement. This is a burnt sienna. And now you can get to a more natural green. but what if you use the permanent yellow deep color with the phthalo blue? Look how dark this gets. Phthalo blue is a very dark color to begin with. So you add just a little bit of that warm yellow to it, and it starts going really dark, but it is a nicer green. So again, these two can work and play well together. These two, they can too, as long as you put in a third friend to tame it down. Green mixing is one of those fun things to do, and the variety of greens you can make is amazing. So do that. And finally, here's your bonus tip. Sometimes it's good to have a versatile convenience green. There's no rule that says you have to mix every green from scratch. A good convenience green can be a great starting point. But let me back up for a little bit. What's a convenience color? Well, for me, it's a tube of paint that has several colors already mixed together. It's just a jump start for color mixing. The key is, I don't use it straight from the tube. I always mix other colors with it. Look, if you find yourself mixing the same kind of green a lot, you can choose a convenience green to speed up your color mixes. But don't go overboard with them. It's critical to know how to mix any color from a few basics. And if you want to learn more about that, be sure to look for the additional resources in the description below. Okay, a convenience color like in the greens, there are a few that I use pretty regularly. What I've got here is a chromium oxide green, and then this is a bohemian green earth, and this is the sap green. These are good convenience colors, I think. These are all good greens, but they're a little bit different. Most convenience colors are made up with different pigments. The exception of these three here is this one right here. This is chromium oxide green, and it only uses that one pigment. So it's also opaque. A lot of these greens here are going to be either transparent or semi-transparent. So as you can see, sap green, a nice neutral green, okay, a little bit warm, okay? Then the middle one is the dark green, bohemian green earth. Like that. It's a nice dark green. And you can really see this because it's on the white paper. So that's the important thing I wanted you to see, the actual hue. Now the chromium oxide green, it's a cooler green. And it's going to have that flavor, so to speak. Now, why do I go with convenience greens? I don't always go with them. Sometimes I just, whatever's on my palette that I can mix, I will just mix it. But these kind of colors are very useful in a landscape. When you start adding white to them, you can see how these could be good highlight colors. And you add white to this bohemian green earth, it's going to, like on a live oak tree, you're going to have a certain type of kind of very grayish, brownish green. And then, of course, you go to the chromium oxide green. Those kind of colors are good, again, at the end of a painting, if you're trying to do some highlights on something, because both the white here, the titanium white, and that are both opaque. And so you would need to use it in a manner that would take advantage of that property. But you can see how these three convenience colors have very different flavors. And again, I keep stressing this, it's so important to have a variety of greens in your landscape. And whether you want to use convenience colors or not, either way, you need to mix these so that you have a beautiful landscape with harmony, but more importantly, it's got variety, because that's what nature is really like. And one final thing about painting greens. Yeah, what he said. One final thing about painting greens is that you have to remember that every plant has a life cycle. So before it comes into bloom, it will stay in bloom for a while and then fade. So when it fades, oftentimes, like right here, you'll see greens that were alive at one point, very vibrant, and then they go to more of a brown color. like that. So you just got to remember to paint these, because you've got to, in a real landscape, you're going to see some browns in with the greens, and that's what makes it an authentic landscape. It's what's different between a pasture, a wild pasture, and a golf course. So don't forget your browns with your greens, and you'll paint a more natural green landscape. There you have it. You don't need a recipe for the perfect green, because there isn't one realistic green. Realism comes from understanding these ideas and then adjusting your greens to depict what you're actually seeing. Let me know in the comments which one of these tips will help you the most. Thanks for joining me in my studio. If you enjoyed this video, you'll also probably enjoy watching the videos I've linked on the screen. Be sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. If you're ready for more in-depth lessons, consider enrolling on one of my online courses where I teach classical painting techniques for landscape painters. You can find all my classes at laynejohnson.com or click on the link in the description below.